We are literally the fastest growing 135 operator in the world currently. So it's an exciting time, like I've said before.
Most pilots don't understand what career opportunities are available in the world of aviation. They're making career decisions based on advice from friends or posts on internet forums, meaning they are taking huge risks with their livelihood without having all the details. This podcast was created to help you understand the aviation industry so you can find your dream job. Let's get ready for Pushback. Here's your host and my dad, Nick Fialka.
Thanks for that awesome intro, Kate. I never get tired of listening to that little girl do the intro. We had so much fun making that. Well, welcome everybody. Today is a really, really interesting conversation with Stevi Knighton from Jet Edge. And Jet Edge is a Part 135 carrier. They were purchased recently by a conglomerate called Vista, which owns a whole bunch of stuff. And the conversation, first off, shows that Stevi is a truly nice person. She exudes happiness and she's totally awesome. I had a great time chatting with her. I've seen her at multiple events and she's always the most bubbly person at every event. It's a great opportunity for you that are thinking about corporate flying, but you need to have your eyes wide open on this because it's not a low time company, right? They want you to have 2,500 hours to get in there, but it's a great opportunity to be home-based. Their big-time competitors are trying to surpass NetJets in their capability. Kind of that's the big fish that they're going after. They've got lots of aircraft, but they're growing their Challenger and Gulfstream fleet, which is really, really cool. And listen to what she talks about. If you listen to the entire episode, like she will completely be open kimono about what she's looking for when she interviews a candidate and what a day in the life is like. I mean, you just get the culture of this organization right from Stevi. She did a great job. We had a great conversation and all the details are over in the show notes. So feel free to go grab them and give Stevi a call. Before we get to the interview, two quick things. Number one, if you have a question for me or you know of a cool guest that you think I should interview, send me an email, podcast@spitfireelite.com. And I'd love to hear from you. Number two, if you need a resume, you don't already have one, or maybe yours is kind of lame and cluttered, go over to my website, spitfireelite.com/podcast. I've got free resume templates right there. So they're designed for professional pilots. They're the ones we use at Spitfire, and they're awesome. So go get one. And last but not least, let's have a quick word from our sponsors, because without them, we wouldn't have this awesome podcast. Hey pilot, it's Nick. I want to tell you about a great friend of the show, Timothy P. Pope. He's a financial planner and he's completely focused on the professional pilot. He's the kind of guy you want to go to for real talk to help you figure out your financial future. With so many upgrades and so many transitions and so many things going on, you owe it to yourself to give him a call. He'll help you design and execute really smart financial planning strategies, whether it's retirement planning, investment management, military transition, tax planning. He's a great financial planning partner. Timothy P. Pope, CFP, helping professional pilots make the most out of life. Give him a shout. All the information's in the show notes. You should definitely tell him I told you to call. All right. Well, I'd like to welcome Stevi Knighton with me. She's the recruitment manager at Jet Edge. Stevi, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It is a pleasure to be here with you. I'm very excited.
This is super fun for me too. We've been playing a little bit of phone tag and I love how excited you are just to chit chat and tell me all about Jet Edge. Would you do me a favor and just kind of give us an overview, kind of an introduction for the kids at home that don't know what Jet Edge is or maybe have heard of it, are not real sure about everything. Can you give us some information on it?
Absolutely. So I'm not surprised. We are actually still in a phase where we're looking to expand our brand footprint and promote that brand recognition. Jet Edge, as it stands, is actually a result of a merger between Jet Select and Jet Edge. Both of them were smaller operators. Jet Edge out of Van Nuys, Jet Select out of Columbus, Ohio. Jet Edge actually acquired Jet Select So we had a bit of a merger years ago, around 2017, to become the wonderful company we are. Our CEO, Bill Paparella, actually came up with an idea for a program that actually sets apart. I'm sure I'll speak more to that here later. But he created or developed a program that allows us to offer our services at a lesser rate, to provide potential for other people to enjoy charter services that can't afford it, but then also developed a program for owners so that they could create revenue for themselves, as well as utilize our services. So it's a very unique business structure that was developed, and then we took off. We continued to grow even through COVID. There were, of course, some layoffs, and we battled back. I think we came back stronger. We were able to bring folks back on to the teams. We were able to bring our pilots back and have just taken off since then. And then we're recently acquired by Vista. So now we are Jet Edge International and are continuing to grow. It's a really, really exciting time to be a part of the company. And even in just the year that I've been here, I like to say that it's a different company that I work for. I was working for a smaller, I would liken it almost to working at a startup, where we had that engagement with upper leadership. We're really able to develop some ideas around how we got the word out about who we were and are. And then after the acquisition with Vista, we've been able to have access to more technology that streamlines a lot of our processes, but still offer that same level of service to our clients and customers, and also to develop new ways to partner with our departments and everyone that upholds this wonderful company, including our pilots. And now it's just time to let the public know the awesome things that we're doing.
Yeah. So Vista, you guys were merged into Vista. Vista also owns ExoJet and VistaJet. Mm-hmm. And so they've kind of become this three-headed organization that is creating a big push to increase the subscription service for personnel, for people that are interested in this private jet travel, but they're also focused on kind of reestablishing the fleet. Can you kind of talk to what the effects have been since the Vista merger?
Sure. Since the Vista merger, we have been able to create processes and procedures around what we are doing that otherwise we didn't necessarily have a significant need for, just because we were growing steadily and still kind of innovating some processes. And then since then, we've been able to really marry some of the things that Vista was already doing with the innovative programming that we were already offering. So it really has kind of been a match made in heaven in that regard. And any merger acquisition, of course, comes with a level of trepidation because you just don't know how things are going to go. But they've done a great job of sharing with us what their goals are. So as it stands, we have about 95 planes on our fleet, with both our mid-sized jets and our heavy fleet. So combined, it would be 95. We are looking to continue to add to that fleet. And then our goal over time is to reach about 795 planes on certificate. So as we continue to grow, we have continued to add specifically to our Challenger fleet for our super mids, and specifically our Gulfstreams on our heavy side. So we plan to continue to move forward until we reach that goal. We're looking to, at some point, surpass NetJets in terms of the kind of service, the level and the amount of service that we're offering, and the amount of planes that we have on certificate. And I think that seeing them as the number one competitor actually has motivated all of us to do the best job and promote the differences in our programming, the differences in us as an operator versus what some of the other 135 operators out there may doing. So I think the biggest challenge has been really getting the word out that we are not the small operator that laid off people in 2020 that everybody is like, I don't know what happened or I don't know who they are. We are literally the fastest growing 135 operator in the world currently. So it's an exciting time, like I've said before. And I think that Vistas, they have a very unique platform in the way that they provide service. I think it's because of them being a European-based company. So it really has expanded our footprint and allowed us to have access to some newer, fresh ideas. And then, like I said, coupled with the innovative programming that we've been able to offer in our Advantage program, which actually significantly impacts how we fly. It impacts how our pilots, the rotations that our pilots are on. And a lot of pilots that come to us are pleased that there is like scheduling and routine, home basing. So it's been, in a strange way, even in the midst of our pilot shortage, it's been fairly easy to attract a particular type of a skilled pilot to us. We're looking for seasoned individuals to join us. But we have really, I think, been able to narrow down the type of pilot that we need or are looking for that is going to fit within that program that we're offering. Like I said, it's a very unique experience that we're giving to people, which I also think is why we're able to compete with such a large operator like NetJets, is because we're different. Like, I think NetJets is different. So it's really cool.
What's a day in the life look like? If I'm trying to figure out, like, do I want to go? The hardest part, honestly, like when I was doing this, I fly for a major airline. I flew for regional. I flew for a ULCC. I feel like I've flown for everybody, except you guys. You didn't call. But yeah, like the hardest part that a lot of people have is like, what is it all about? What is my day going to look like? What is my life going to look like? And because like me, I can send you an app today. I could send you an app. You could call me up, call me in for an interview. We could interview. I could do great. And then I could get the job. And I'm like, man, what the hell am I doing? Like, what am I actually doing? So can you kind of talk to that?
Absolutely. You would definitely come in. We're going to take a look at your level of experience. So I think we discussed a little bit about military pilots who maybe don't meet a certain time requirement. So let's get to that. Let's get to that one later, because I want to kind of like form that one up. Okay, perfect. So just to kind of give you an example, you're an applicant, you come with 2,400 hours. Maybe you don't have a type rating in a Challenger or a Gulfstream, but you're really interested in flying like a 605 for us. Then we look at the level of experience you have. You said you've flown everywhere. So that's great. We're going to ask you, what your experience has been. We'll take you through some questions, and then we send you for an interview with our upper leadership. That way you'd have an opportunity to meet right away our chief pilot, our director of operations, and you can get a feel for what is going on directly from a pilot and someone who has flown the line for us previously. Pat Newcomb is actually our chief pilot and was flying the line before he was upgraded or promoted into that position. So away.
So you're starting off not just like interviewing with the HR person, like you're going in front of the chief pilot and the director, you said director of operations, I think?
Absolutely. So we have standard captains, we have our chief pilot, we have our director of operations, Lowell Jones. And once you talk to us, there'll be some screening questions that you go through with us, of course.
Sure. Are you a serial killer?
Right. We want to make sure. Exactly. We'll make sure that what you're representing is actually, factual, and ensure that you're able to carry a relatable, conversation. Being personable would be an important part of this job, especially given the clientele that we serve. I think we're having a great conversation. So it'd be you. So I'm going to send you up to the next level of interview. You'd be able to speak with the captain. Yeah. So you'd be able to talk to a pilot right away, which I think is very valuable, because there's going to be some things that pilot to pilot you can talk about or speak to that maybe myself in this seat. I know a lot about recruitment and HR, and I do know the basics of like aviation and piloting for our specific fleet, but being able to talk shop with somebody that you can relate to that's in that profession, I think is really important. And then from that stage, you would go into, we provide online training to you. You'd come here into Columbus, Ohio, which is now our flagship office. and you would complete a training program here, which is called NDOC, before we send you off to your sim training, which would be in the left seat. So you're immediately going to start to train as a PIC. All of the time that you get in training, the type rating that you receive will be a PIC type rating. And then from there, of course, you come into operational experience. So you're still not flying completely solo. And then once you pass your OE, then you're able to fly the line.
Do you know how many hours you need for OE? Do you have that?
How many hours in OE that you need?
Yeah.
That I don't.
That usually take a couple trips, probably.
Yes. So typically your rotation it's a 15-13 rotation. So the
15-13
yes,
means, break that down for us.
Sure. So it'll be 15 days on and 13 days off. Your first and 15th day are your travel days. Okay. You could potentially fly on that travel day, but we don't bust your duty day. So however long it took you to meet the plane, because we have home basing. So
home basing. You tell the kids at home basing.
Sure. So I think home basing is awesome. You don't have to move or leave your town or wherever you enjoy being. And if you're, say, on a vacation with your family and you have to go on rotation from your vacation, then we'd be able to fly you commercially as long as you are in the continental United States. We could fly you from that closest airport to you to meet the plane wherever it is. So,
got it. So if I'm in Fiji, I've got to find my way to San Diego.
Yes.
Before you. Okay.
Exactly. So yeah, you'd have to come back from your wonderful vacation in the Bahamas.
I have too many kids to go to Fiji ever, but those of you that are there right now are my heroes.
I'd love to go to Fiji. I'm too scared because it's like in the middle of water and I'm just like, there's no land in sight.
Listen, you're in Ohio. That's the middle of nowhere as well. It's just with land.
It's a wonderful flyover state. I say we put the fly in flyover.
That's perfect. All right. So 15 days on, 13 days off. You fly day one. Like I get to the airport from my house in Texas. I fly to meet the jet at wherever we're going to go.
Right.
But essentially, like my clock starts because it's a paid for ticket. I get there. Maybe I'm flying the first day. Maybe I'm staying in a hotel overnight.
Correct.
And then I'm getting to the jet. And now with 135 or Part 91, with the customers that you have, there's a lot of organization. For if somebody's never seen that before, what kind of things are they thinking about that they have to do that are just, most people that would think like airline pilot are thinking, man, I'm going in the front. I'm going to do a walk around. I'm going to close the door. I'm going to be gone. But that's different for you guys, right?
It is absolutely different. So, yeah. So, and just to complete the OE question, just really quick, but it all fits in together. Like I said, we don't bust your duty day. You would go through that rotation with your standards captain if you're in OE. So if it takes you that one rotation, you're great, then you're good. You're able to go ahead and fly the next rotation that you come on as a first officer, if you don't have all of the time to be a captain. So you just continue in. Usually the planes have 3 to 4 crew members. So it's like a 4 crew member rotation. So you'd end up with 2 different captains every time you come on rotation, but it would be the same crew. So our crews end up being very close. You're typically assigned to a specific plane as well. So you get to kind of learn the ins and outs of your baby and know exactly what makes her work. So I think that's a lot of people like that because it allows them to develop those deeper relationships. So typically people, when they're coming on, what they're thinking about is, they'll get all the information, their flight plan, et cetera. So you'll look that over, who your client is going to be, where you're going. It's typically going to be 1 to 2 legs a day. If you do a third leg, it'll more than likely be an empty leg. And then you are taking your passenger wherever they have chartered the plane to. It could be an owner even of the plane. And then you're going to be thinking about bags, making sure that their luggage has been loaded. You're going to be making sure that all of the things that they've requested be on the plane is completed. You're going to introduce yourself and just allow them to know who you are. And then you're going to close that door, get in your cockpit and fly. So there is still an element of you're in there to do your job and do it well. But there's an added level of customer service for the VIP clientele and the luxury experience that we are providing.
Cool. Awesome. 2 quick questions. The bags. Are we the ones loading the bags? Are there ramper, like anybody out there at that FBO loading bags, or is that the pilot's responsibility?
It is typically the pilot's responsibility, yes.
Perfect.
If there's
Excellent.
additional assistance needed, then we have great relationships with our FBOs and there's help. But yes, we look at that as
Some guy like traveling with like 4 Ducatis that need to get in the back of it. I want to fly with that guy. Now, you said items that they've requested, right? So I imagine being rich one day. So that's, it's on my list of things to do is be rich. And so when I am, like I've got, like I want all blue M&Ms or I want, like Perignon or whatever. So the customer is coming up with this game plan of the things they want in the jet.
Yes.
And now is the pilot the guy going through like picking out every blue M&M and like
No.
getting everything organized and putting it in the jet?
No, we have a wonderful operations team that handles that. Client services ensures that everything is stocked to the hilt before the customer or client even arrives. Like they've already scheduled it and know what is needed and necessary. We keep an inventory of all kinds of wonderful goodies and we'll obviously go and retrieve anything in addition that is needful. And there's also the service department that will handle any complaints or issues or anything like that on the ground. So obviously they'd be able to contact someone before or after their flight if something is wrong. But typically the pilot is there as a person to mitigate any issues. So I'll give you an example. Someone has 3 dogs and they're transporting their dogs on vacation with them from, Miami to LA. And they forgot their leashes. Then a pilot says, okay, they need to walk these dogs before we get on this flight because it can take a little while. No leashes. That's okay. We'll use some cell phone chargers tied around the collar, hold on to the end and walk the dogs, or allow them to walk the dogs, etc. So just ways to come up with being helpful to our customers in situations that are outside of whatever someone on the ground could control. There's an immediate need that the passenger.
Yeah. So that tells me always have a couple spare leashes with you and possibly like bring some, I'm a parent. So I'm like diapers, wipes. Like, what am I thinking I'm going to put in my kit, to get going? That's smart. So it seems like a pilot working with you would have to have a winning personality. That would have to be a person that can communicate effectively with alpha figures, with figures that are used to being taken care of very well and to be responsible. And so that seems like a unique skill set that you guys have a few hours to dig out of that person. So it sounds to me that you're going to look for a person, a pilot that has a winning personality, that is somebody that can deal with people that are used to being getting what they want, people that have high expectations, people that are alpha figures in business or in celebrity or whatever it is. Like, how do you figure that when you have a short time to like interview somebody? What does that look like?
I think just like we're having this really great conversation and able to kind of flow, that's usually what I am looking for when I'm talking to someone. Obviously, people are nervous when they're speaking to someone that could potentially hire them. So I'm looking for someone who can work through those nerves and engage in a professional, concise conversation with me, answer questions like briefly, professionally, but also with personality. I do ask some questions that may not seem like they would be completely in alignment with a specific pilot career, just to gauge what their level of experience with customer service might be, or what they've experienced in terms of a difficult passenger or something that they maybe even experienced where a passenger needed additional assistance and they had to go above and beyond their initial duties. So I'm able in just about 30, 45 minutes talking to someone to really be able to determine if we can have a personable conversation that speaks to their skills, but also reveals that personality. And then that's when I trade them off to, like I said, they're going to talk to a standards captain or a chief pilot, and they'll drill down on some of those like hard skills and ask questions about their level of experience. And then typically one of our recruiters, myself or someone, does try to be in those interviews. And even if we can't, built into the interview is also some questions to gauge what their experience is with customer service. So Those soft skills are incredibly important to us as much as the skill set that's needed to meet the standards that we do have. So soft skills, it seems like, would be difficult to assess, but they're not. The soft skills are going to come out in your tone. It's going to come out in the way that you engage in conversation. Are you smiling? Are you welcoming? And we're able to understand how you even respond when you're extremely nervous. And so that's important because it's going to be it can be intimidating to, say, fly your absolute favorite basketball star or a celebrity that you've admired for years, and now they're on the plane with you. So being able to effectively communicate in a brief, direct manner and offer assistance as needed, and then go do your job is of the utmost importance.
I think the way I look at it is that basketball player is super lucky to have me right here.
That's a great way to look at it. That's what we would want. Yeah.
My mom thinks I'm a catch. This is what it's all about.
Absolutely.
That not letting celebrity get to you, the idea of celebrity, not a celebrity, but the general concept of celebrity, and to understand that and to embrace it. People are people and you got to love them where they are, right?
Exactly.
So that's awesome. So, okay, let's talk about what kind of requirements do we need? I want to work for your company. I'm really interested, but what are the barriers for entry that we're looking at?
So I know that a lot of our competitors have lower time requirements for a first officer position. With the Wyvern Argus safety ratings that we've maintained, and because our training program as it stands is a very efficient and rather swift process, we want to make sure that the folks that we're hiring have a level of experience. They're a little bit more seasoned. Maybe we're not their, first position. We want to ensure that they have that level of experience for the added amount of safety, and so that you can pick up the training a lot more easy than maybe someone who is fresh out of school and still building those hours, or just met maybe their 1,200 or 1,500 total flight time. So bringing in a first officer at 2,500 hours lets us access talent who has already flown, maybe for some of our competitors. Maybe they are coming from the airline, or they're coming from a training, program where their time has maybe been counted based on their sim time. So we do look at other options in terms of being an entry level position. We are gauging your level of hard experience. Also, like I said, those soft skills come into play. But as close to the 2,500 that we can get is important. You will come out with added hours out of training. So if you're close to 25 and not quite there, we'll count your training hours and then you meet the standard that we have. But as we continue to merge.
Bottom line, you have to have an ATP.
Oh, definitely. You do need to have at least your written completed, first class medical. Like I said, 2,500 hours of total flight time. Well, it's both for heavy and our super mid. So if you want to fly a Challenger 25, you want to fly a Gulfstream, you would need 2,500 hours as well. It changes for PIC. We want you to already have your type rating. It's okay if maybe you haven't been to a recurrent, because maybe you're working for a company, you got your type in the 350 and they, bought a new plane. You were able to get additional type rating and flew that. And now it's 3 years later. That's okay. We'll send you back through initial. And also give you differences training, because we have 300 and 350s here. We have 604, 605, and 650s here. You'll get your differences training and be able to come out. Otherwise, it's a recurrent. But we are looking for you to already have the type rating to come in as a PIC, which I think is awesome about our training program, because you're getting all the training in the left seat. So you're already on course, even from the very beginning, to move from the first to the left, the right to the left seat, typically within 6 to 18 months.
It's 18 months for upgrade.
Correct. It just depends on your comfortability, obviously what your, standards captain, even your lead pilot is saying, and we'll have to do a check ride and ensure that you're prepared and ready for that level of, leadership and responsibility with your crew. So, of course, if everything goes right and you have the initiative and have built that time, absolutely. But because we're dealing with people I think that would be kind of scary hearing that if we were dealing with people who only had like 1,200 hours and were very, very green. But because we have folks who are coming with that seasoned, level of experience, then we're able to move them along and help them to continue to grow their career. What I'm really excited about is we are developing an opportunity to create a flow through. We already do not have a seat lock, so you are able to move around the board. Typically, as a first officer, we would want you to be in that seat for at least a year. And I mean, when I say seat, you would be assigned to that particular aircraft, so like a 300. But if you were really interested in the Gulfstream at that point, wanted to just move on to heavy fleet, we are developing an easier process to allow people to flow from the super mid to heavy so that folks are continuing to grow. They don't feel stagnant in their career, but can also stay a part of the company. Because like I said, most of our pilots really enjoy the stability of that set schedule, being home based, and really knowing what it is that they're going to be doing before they even get on the plane. Like I said, because of the supports and the awesome operations department that we have that supports our pilots.
Now, the home basing, flow throughs, all of that is awesome. The next question is, right now, we're in a pilot's market.
We
right?
are. Yes.
Every company wants to hire bajillion pilots. So what's your value statement for all these 2,500 hours can go anywhere, right? First off, how many are you looking to build out this year? Like, what's your target? And then what's your value statement to them that you're trying to say, hey, like, we're the ones, like, this is why it's awesome to be here.
So the good news is we are almost completely full in terms of the pilots flying for us. We do still have a few positions open for our 300 PIC. So these would be folks who already have that type rating. And we are doing what we would call in the recruitment world headhunting, where we are seeking them out to have these conversations because, to your point, it's their market. So we're not waiting, for anyone to just show up at our door. We are definitely seeking folks out to tell them about the opportunities that we have here. So
like getting on podcasts, like you're getting on people's podcasts. Beautiful. Thank you.
Absolutely. So, because we are looking for folks that are seasoned and we know that there's certain things that maybe we wouldn't compete with because it would be like comparing apples to oranges. If you are only looking for a 121, career and all of the benefits and incentives that go with that, then it's like, great, we wish you well. If you want to stop here first and, build some time, gain some additional experience, help to add additional things to your resume, this is a great opportunity to do just that, especially if you're able to move from our super mid to our heavy fleet. It gives you the opportunity to fly a much, much larger jet. Because, a BBJ is a glorified 747 that's just like been gutted and refurbished and all that good stuff. So having that experience does carry over. And I think it would make you a better pilot because there is a level of intimacy that you'll have with your passenger in this world versus that same level that you might have in 121. You come in, you thank everybody for choosing your airline, you shut that door and you take off.
You got to take your hat off first. That's the first thing you do.
Oh, really? Okay. I didn't know that.
It's in the manuals. It's like step number 2, take off your hat.
I know when the kids were little, went on their first flight, we were able to kind of peek in there and see the cockpit. They got their wings and all. But that was my extent of the 121 world and never being able to engage. So that's the thing. I wasn't able to really engage with the pilots beyond that. That's different in this world. So we really do try to explain to the folks that we're interested in, what does set us apart. Even though we're a growing operator, we still have a small company feel that I have found a lot of the pilots really appreciate. You have direct communication with the folks in our training department, our HR department, and upper leadership. So you don't have to go through all of these channels or jump through tons of hoops in order to have your questions answered or in order to make a change to your rotation. I like to say that we are life event flexible. We are just all humans really dedicated to meeting these goals and offering excellent service to our clients and continuing to innovate and develop new ways of doing this business. And so I think that while we're not for everybody, we're definitely for pilots who are looking for, like I said, a steady, stable schedule that they can depend on and have the flexibility to do life. You get those 13 days off, and we truly want you to have them. The 1st and 15th day, like I said, are your travel days. So say you're coming off rotation on that 15th day, and then something happens, there's a delay for inclement weather, or something happens and you end up having to spend an extra day, you're going to get that additional pay. Like, we're going to pay you whether you flew or not, and we value you getting your time off. So essentially, you're getting 2 weeks off every month. You're flying for the first half, you're off the second, and then if anything comes up, you can always communicate with us so that we can work with you. We're always looking for ways to support the pilot and to ensure that they're able to have that work-life balance that I think is so much more important right now than pay. The feedback that we've been getting from our pilots and from folks that have been seeking employment with us is one gentleman who interested in flying on our heavy fleet. I won't say the airline that he was coming from. There are a little bit of some dangerous practices happening there in terms of how much flying he was doing. I was curious as to why, there wasn't a fatigue mitigation policy being enacted, or at least
there is people just don't want to pull the trigger on it.
Yes. So. And I get it. I get it. But then that was his number one complaint because the pressure was there. So even if he wanted to pull the trigger, maybe personally, if your crew or if the leadership is pressuring you not to and to continue, that's a difficult situation to be in. And then if they start throwing money at you on top of that, it might be hard to turn down. But here you have the opportunity to have your work-life balance, continue to grow in terms of your income. We've actually revisited our pay structure to ensure that we are a leading competitor in terms of base pay.
Can you give us some specifics?
Sure. So for example, we're at 193, or we're at 93.1. I'm sorry. 93.1 for an SIC. Yes, it is.
Okay.
93.1 for an SIC. That's just your base pay. That does not include your additional rate per diem.
Is that's like 93,000 as a salary or $93 an hour?
So it will be 93,100 as a salary.
Got it.
And that, like I said, that's your base. That does not include your per diem, because we wouldn't necessarily count per diem as like towards your salary, but you get your per diem. And then you have the variable, 5% variable that pays you out in terms of you just basically making your rotations. If you're the type of pilot that is happy you show up on your rotation and you go home and there's no need for you to take additional time off, etc. Or even if you do need to take time off and you decide to make up that day, then you're going to meet your variable, which means that we're going to give you an additional 5%.
Okay, got
on top of your pay.
So the 5% is an incentive to come to work.
Correct.
Okay,
just for coming to work, not doing anything extra, no additional flying. You're literally just coming to work. So you're already getting a 5% increase. Mm-hmm.
Got it. So if you're missing days, that variable, like that's the carrot for that. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Missing days, like I said, you still have the opportunity to just reschedule something or make up the days. So it's not even a situation where it's like, oh my gosh, if I don't. It's just like, oh, I need to recalibrate and maybe make some changes. So maybe I fly this additional day. Still going to get your additional day pay. But then you fly the additional day, which also makes up for the day that you missed, so you don't miss out on that variable. So I think it's a win-win. And then that also helps in the situation where, like I said, you're not necessarily worried about like a vacation time frame that you have to build points for, or that you only have a select amount of hours for, or even you have to bid for in terms of a schedule. It's not going to be based on your seniority or anything like that. You can come in, you know what your rotation is going to be. And then, like I said, life event flexibility allows for you to really work with us so we can ensure that your schedule meets the work-life balance that you need.
Got it. So 93.1 plus per diem. Do you know the per diem rate by chance?
The per diem rates, they recently changed. I don't remember them. They did. I don't remember off the top of my head. I believe, don't quote me, but I believe it is 75 for domestic. And then it's up to 125 outside. So domestic would count like all of, the continental United States. And then like right above where we're in Canada or Mexico. And then international flying. So if you're even further south into South America, Hawaii, you're doing any level of crossing, then it's going to increase. So,
so $75 a day or $125 a day?
75, that's domestic, and then 125 for your like international. Correct.
Okay, cool.
And it's not less than that. I know that it changed recently, so it may even be more. At least
okay,
that,
got
correct.
it. All right, cool. And then a 5% variable, which is the 5% based off the salary?
Correct.
Great. 401k or anything
Yes,
cool like that?
We do have 401k. We have a full suite of benefits. So you pick the tier that's best for your family. We have vision, dental. We have life insurance, short-term, long-term disability insurance.
Do you have pet insurance since I'm walking my dog with my extra?
We do. So Cigna is actually our provider. Some of that may change again because of our recent acquisition, but they haven't advised us of any significant change to happen right away. There's some talks about some other good things in terms of our benefits that I'm excited about. I'm not at liberty to talk about yet, but that is the good things that come with a merger like this, is that the ideas, the creativity is flowing to ensure that we're able to really support that niche business model that we have. And we want to also provide those niche benefits to our pilots and employees to ensure that we as a whole company are offering that same like luxurious experience to both the clients, of course, but also to our pilots and our employees. Just as an example, we intentionally fly out our pilots here to our flagship office because it's absolutely beautiful. It's been redone, and there's this beautiful like stadium seating in our cafeteria area. We have some ping pong tables and other like fun, engaging activities. So if you need to get up, stretch your legs, take a break. It's the I hate to say this like this, but the millennial office experience.
Listen, that millennial office experience, that's got a beer pong table.
Yes.
So that's certainly my tip to any other airline listening, is that the more beer pong tables if people are flying.
Yes, we got rid of our air hockey table because it was just a little too noisy. But we still have our foosball, we still have our ping pong table, and yes, we do have a keg. That's not typically
what I'm talking about, y'all.
It's not turned on like all the time.
It's just for the interview.
It's definitely for the interview. No, it's for celebration. I've definitely, and this is, I think, what makes it a really unique experience here. My VP of operations and I have just a really delicate and great relationship in terms of how the recruitment efforts that we have impact operations. So there's definitely been some days where we've had some challenges, met the challenges, and at the very end of the night before we, go home, we're saying cheers. So there's not very many companies that I think you would be able to develop that kind of relationship with a VP. And that is also true of what our pilots experience in terms of that option to connect with upper leadership.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Okay, let me ask you this. Beards or no beards?
I believe beards or no beards. They have not told us that we can't like hire people with facial hair, and I haven't seen anybody having to shave an end dock. So I'm
men or women, like I don't care, like, whatever.
It's just not like it's not been anything that we have to like look for or make sure people are aware of that they need to change. So I'm going to say beards,
all right.
But I believe it has to be groomed, and it would have, you probably couldn't have like the full like beard. Anything
maybe a goatee.
Correct.
Maybe a waxed mustache with like a train robber.
Right.
Like an old timey train robber.
Nothing that would impede you from being able to properly secure any type of mask or,
So we're going to leave. Listen, when you are sitting with Stevi at your interview, you can ask her and she will tell you for sure whether or not beards, but you should still interview there.
I'm going to ask Grant, who's over our NDOC and training program. I'll even bring it up with Misty because it's just not something that it's ever
Misty,
come up.
Come on, y'all. I need to know.
They're wonderful people. So I'm sure they just tell folks to make sure that it's well groomed so that anything that they need, like in terms of mask from oxygen or safety or security is able to secure to their face.
Absolutely. You gotta have a secure.
Exactly. Safety is the utmost importance to us. Like,
yes.
Safety.
Anybody that's ever been hypoxic knows for sure how important that seal is around their face.
Exactly. That is our
I told you these would be hard-hitting questions. These are These are the hardest questions. I love that you didn't know. The answer is maybe, and I'm so sorry for bringing it up. Here's one that you probably know. 65. Can I be 65 in one day and come get a job?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We do not discriminate for age. We're going to look at your level of experience. And as long as you're able to move through the training process.
Of course.
Then you're
yes.
able
You have to have all your wits with you. Like,
exactly.
For sure. So that seems like a really good target market because you've got people. I mean, gosh, man, people are pushing fast out of their 121 job and they're going to be looking for a great experience. And they're like, chomping at the bit to get back in the aircraft because once you're in there so long and you just start to miss it, you know? And
exactly. So we have had the folks who come to us that are as enthusiastic as you mentioned are definitely folks that we consider. We also get some, pilots because of that 121, and this has nothing to do with age. If you're coming from the 121 world thinking that you're going to now just have a cushy job in a jet, it's important that we always convey the level of customer service that is involved in this position because some folks are not as enthusiastic about that. Some folks do just want the, hey, hi, I'm your pilot. Take my hat off, like you said, and then go. So
listen, there are jerks in every industry, and I'll be. You don't have to say it because like there's probably a jerk listening to it right now that's like, oh man, I can't even believe. Guess I'm not going to apply there, but. Y'all got to be cool. Like you've got to be cool. You've got to treat the customer right. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter it doesn't even matter if you're flying cargo. You've got to sit next to another human and you've got to be a great person, guy or gal, tall, short, older, young. You've got to be awesome.
Absolutely.
And that's what it's all about.
And I think that our standards for employment apply just across the board. But the only issue I think that would arise with a 65 or plus, and I think in the airlines, it's even like 62 is when you have to, 62 or 63.
65 when you have to leave. Yeah.
Okay. Is it 65? Because I know there's been some folks that maybe they're taking the early option.
Early retirements.
Okay. Yeah. And I think what it is, the trend that I'm referring to is because of COVID. So that was one of the ways that I think the major airlines were able to maintain operation is by encouraging, folks who were near retirement to cut out a little earlier. So, yeah. So, of course, we've had those folks flow through. But like I said, I think our standards apply to everyone. The only difference would be for any folks that are in that age range looking to fly overseas in our heavy fleet. So those long range trips where we might be met with any of those standards from Europe or Canada, where they state that someone of a certain age shouldn't be able to fly into that country in the left seat. Those are the only times where some things may apply where we have to be creative, or maybe those are not the trips or the aircraft that we would put you on. But that is the only limitation, and that's just out of our control. That has nothing to do with whatever standards we have. We just have to respect whatever country that we're flying into and make sure that we're not violating any of their, policies, laws, et cetera. But we've been able to, I think that maybe the oldest pilot flying for us is in his 70s. I think we have two in their 70s.
I don't know if we cover this. How many pilots do you have on property right now?
We have about, I think we're close to 200, a little over 200 pilots flying for us currently.
Awesome. How about this? You probably don't know this about me, but a long time ago, I was a helicopter guy. Mm-hmm. And I have a lot of helicopter hours. If I'm coming to you out of like military, or I've been flying law enforcement or customs or whatever that is, and I've got some jet experience, but I've got a big bank of helicopter time. Like, how is that affecting your thought process of hireable or not hireable?
Sure. So we are going to take into consideration what your multi-engine time, your fixed wing time is, what your level of experiences, because you said maybe you do have some jet experience. We're going to look at how long ago that was, or how long you were even in that position, coupled with the flight experience you might have in a helicopter. So in cases like that, there's not necessarily like a blanket policy. We really do try to get to know the candidate and learn the experience that you have and determine what we're able, or how we're able to develop you from that awesome helicopter pilot into an awesome jet pilot. If some of that experience is there, and if you have those soft skills that we're looking for, and then you're able to just boost or bolster some of that helicopter time with some level of experience, even if it's not directly like 135, but if you have like 91, experience, then we're going to consider all of those things together. What I also really appreciate, again, it just speaks to the nature of our company. Even as we grow, we still like have that small company feel, is if I really like someone, I'm able to go directly to my leadership and say, hey, these are the things that I think would make this candidate stand out, even if these criteria are different. And then they'll say, okay, let me talk to them. And that's when you're able to level, like I said, directly with the pilot, with the chief pilot, folks that you're going to engage with. And then we can determine if there's a fit for you here. And we're not looking to turn away qualified individuals, but we also want to make sure that we set folks up for success and would never want to bring someone into a situation that they're just completely not qualified for. It's not good for their reputation. It's not good for their career advancement. And it only slows our process down.
Yeah. So, okay. How do I not just be that email with a resume attached? Like, what do I do?
So, if you are email with a resume attached, we're calling. We want to get to know you. We want to talk to you. We are not in a position, and I think this is true of every company and organization out there in the aviation world, we're realistically in a pilot shortage. We are realistically in a time where it is the pilot's market. It's an employee market, period. We are it's a significant labor revolution that we're really experiencing right now. So we don't initially really turn anyone away unless there are specific factors that you just fall outside of on the resume. And even then, we still reach out with just more of a friendly hello. Here are our standards. Unfortunately, you don't meet those, but stay in touch with us. We really enjoy networking. A lot of the folks that do come to us are via referral. So our awesome pilots know other awesome pilots and then give us, their information. So we're able to reach out. So setting yourself apart, I think, is really just coming into any interview or conversation with an open mind and allowing that personality to come through. When you talk to me, it's usually a phone call. And then when you actually talk to our upper leadership, it is a Zoom or a Teams call. So you have the opportunity to see, who you're speaking with and have more of a personal conversation.
Should they wear a suit on the Zoom call?
So I always tell folks to dress professionally from the waist up, at least, because that's what we see. And then
I got my short shorts on underneath. Perfect.
And see, that's fine. I don't see that. You can definitely have business at the top, party on the bottom, and that's okay with us. And then I tell folks to ensure that wherever they're interviewing, because you can actually interview by phone. Teams is a great resource and tool for us, because then you can just literally use your cell phone and you don't necessarily have, because pilots are flying, pilots are everywhere. And expecting someone to just be, here is not always, the best situation for them. But I do encourage folks to still be sitting still. We had one gentleman who interviewed in a rocking chair.
Oh, man.
Was
he over 65?
No, but he was at home on his front porch. And I think that was just his spot. And I can relate to that. But
that guy, I hope he had a cigar in his hand. That is my kind of guy.
Yeah, so my VP came in and said, it was like being on a roller coaster. All he sees is this just back and forth. So, making an impression, but I think that's a good thing, because typically people are used to interviewing in person. So they want to make that impression. And so with the Teams or Zoom, you still have the opportunity to do that, and you can be anywhere. So if you are out on rotation or in a hotel and want to interview, you're able to do that. And we don't have to fly you into anywhere. We can still have a great face-to-face conversation.
Cool. So you mentioned networking. Give me some specifics. How do I network? What is it to you? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Oh, no, sure. So we are actually in the midst of kind of what do you call those? A hiring event tour.
Okay.
I guess is the best way to put it. So we've been to Women in Aviation. We were recently at OBAB. We plan to go to RTAG. So speaking of those military veterans.
Helicopter guys and gals, let's go.
We will be there. We have a great relationship with FAPA. So we've been to several of their events. And then we'll be going on a school tour. So we'll be at the University of Auburn. We'll be at some local schools like Kent State. So local schools will be like Bowling Green, Ohio State University, Kent.
You mean the
OU,
Ohio State University? That's what they tell me. It's
the Ohio State. Careful now, it's trademarked, or at least they're almost there.
I probably just got sued. That's all right.
We probably would get sued for not saying the Ohio State University.
I guess I won't be renting a Jet Edge plane anytime soon. Dude.
There goes that goal of being rich.
Not going to be rich, broke, homeless.
So, but then we're going on, like I said, we'll be at Auburn, we'll be in Utah, we'll be in Fort Lauderdale, we'll be in Texas, we'll be in California. So we are traveling and looking to engage with people, with pilots, with those interested in aviation career. So they don't necessarily have to know us and try to immediately befriend us. We are seeking you out. We're coming to you. We want to know who you are. One of the wonderful things about being at Women in Aviation was that I was able to engage with a lot of students.
Yes,
it was in Nashville, Tennessee. Yes, a lot of students.
That's
right. And so as a result, there were so many lower time pilots, that I hate to call them kids, but young people who were. Oh,
man, we're old.
Right.
We're in our 30s and 40s, so we're super ancient.
They're kind of kids to me, but not to insult their experience in adulthood. But
they feel grown up. I mean, they can buy beer. It's all right.
They do.
They know you got a keg in there.
But I was able to really develop some relationships. We follow each other on LinkedIn. They do. They follow me on LinkedIn. They send emails to ask questions, just because as they build time, I still want them to consider us. And I invested in seeing people succeed. That's part of the reason I love recruitment in general. It's just, I have a vested interest in seeing people connect with the position in the industry that they love and care about. And then if people are seeking me out, I'm always open to, like I said, LinkedIn connections. I have business cards I leave everywhere. I talk to people all the time. The rest of my social media is kind of off limits, but in terms of being able
don't stalk her, y'all.
Yes. But also we're on airlinepilotcentral.com. We're available to, we'll be doing a meet and greet at some of these colleges and universities where it's not necessarily associated with the hiring event, but it still gives you an opportunity to meet us, to speak with the team. So our marketing team has been actually pushing out those events that we're going to be at via social media, so people know where we will be, and then they can join us and speak to us and get to know us. I think we have a fun group. And I think that our friendliness and our openness is really true to the standard of the company as a whole. We really do want to welcome individuals who want to grow and innovate with us.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think it's really important for the pilot to get themselves out there, to get themselves known. We are in a pilot market, but that can turn tomorrow. That could turn this afternoon. It could be all over with. And so if you haven't positioned yourself, then when the music stops, there you are. And you got your hands in your pockets. And so get out there and be that person that interact, engage, find out what they're doing, how they're doing it. And if you're not there yet, college guys and gals, start making your moves, start planning yourself ahead. If the idea of working 15 on and 13 off and home basing and living in nowhere, Wisconsin, or wherever you want to live, or downtown LA, that is an awesome thing. Soft benefits is you're probably getting all the sky miles out of it, right? Absolutely. You're probably going to be like super platinum, double, triple diamond.
You can keep all of your miles, all of your points. You can also make requests. If there's a particular hotel or commercial airline that you like to stay with, you can let the team know that scheduling all of this for you. So I think that's bonus. I've talked to folks who have to figure all of that on their own, and that is not the case here. You do get known crew member benefits. There is no jump seat because we don't have a direct relationship with an airline, just because of the nature of our business.
Not that you really need it.
Right.
But you do have known crew member is key.
Yes.
Known crew member is key. Getting your points. I can tell you in the 121 world, I don't get hotel points. I've flown more miles than just about anybody, and I don't have, I'm nothing when I'm buying my own ticket. So, you can seriously finance your vacations just on these extra benefits and perks that you get with the way Jet Edge is laid out. So that's literally what a lot of our pilots do, especially because they have the 1315. So they'll fly, they collect their points, and then one of those rotations when they're off, they're planning that vacation with their family. And then, like I said, if you can get yourself back to
a state, just somewhere stateside, wherever you are, then you can come right on rotation from there. So you can enjoy the full extent, of your vacation if that's what you choose to do with your time off. So I just think it's a really great option. Many of our pilots truly enjoy it. You're looking at about 70 to 100 hours of flying a month, roughly 800 hours a year. That can fluctuate in things depending on we do have a peak season, like I think every company does in this business. So, around holidays and that sort of thing. But like I said, that life event flexibility allows for you to really plan out what it is you want to do. And then we can mitigate any emergencies or anything that comes up, especially in the COVID world. So,
yeah, that's awesome. So, man, I could talk to you all day. This is great. Yeah. Thank you for spending time with me. So as we go, I'm thinking the highlights, right? Home basing, the opportunity to go from the small jet to the heavy jet.
Yes.
Maybe beards.
Maybe beards.
Maybe beards.
Maybe beards. At least the goatee.
Yeah. The pay is great. Perks are awesome. Mm-hmm. And the fact that you need pilots, you're ready to rock. As long as you are engaging and articulate, can smile and interact with a customer who is paying your salary, that's a good takeaway. So before we go, any final thoughts, any funny stories or anything like that you want to share with us?
My funny story is kind of personal, but I think that, I don't know, I think it adds to to our conversation. So I actually took my kids on one of our Challenger 350s. We did not go anywhere. We just got on and was able to tour the plane with one of our beloved pilots, and had my kids sit in the cockpit and asked, we're just showing them around, showing them buttons and that sort of thing. And my youngest son was sitting in the left seat, and he instructed him to push a button that turned all of the cabin lights on. And immediately my son thinks, oh my God, he thinks we're about to take off. He is now officially a pilot, and was terrified. So we had to assure him, no, the lights just came on. But the reason I also bring that up is because I think that the pilots that we have that kind of sense of adventure, fun, and are able to really give people an experience that they will also remember and want to repeat again and again. And I think that also carries over into the relationships that they develop between themselves. Our pilots are definitely like family. They work well together. It's important to them, and we don't discourage that. We want to also be, I wouldn't say that we'll consider the company a family. Some families are dysfunctional, but I mean, literally, we are looking for individuals who have a specific skill set and are ready to advance their career, build on that, and continue to be the wonderful people that they are, and really bring their whole self to the position. So, and that's something I definitely think sets us apart.
Awesome. So we've got thousands of people listening that are super excited, that want to go fly that Challenger. So how do they get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So you can actually email me directly at snighton@flyjetedge.com. You can go on our website, flyjetedge.com. You can send any information to pilotrecruiting@flyjetedge.com. And then if you search Airline Pilot Central, Climb to 350, Indeed, any of the, usual sites that you would, look for particular jobs, etc. You can find our postings there. It'll lead you to our job board. You can put in an application, and then myself or a member of my recruiting team is happy to reach out to you. But we are open to any kind of communication, even if you just have questions. We're willing to engage. So meet us at RTAG. We'll be there really soon. Come and if you're in Ohio or local in the area, we'll be definitely having some events, like I said, at the local colleges and universities. But absolutely. So snighton@flyjetedge.com or visit flyjetedge.com/careers is where our job board is. And feel free to reach out. We're happy to talk to you.
Awesome. And I'll put all that information in the show notes, and you'll be able to have a quick link over there. So, Stevi, thank you so much. What a treat. I really appreciate your time and your candor, and really just kind of telling us about that life that a lot of people have a hard time figuring it out. And I think you've really opened a lot of doors, and hopefully it's fruitful for you and for the listeners. So thank you so much.
That's my hope. Thank you, Nick, for the opportunity. This has been awesome.
Man. All right. Well, we'll catch you later.
All right. Thank you.
Hey, before you jump out of here and go on to the next podcast, can I ask a big favor? Would you mind going over to your app that you're listening to this podcast on and give me a review? Give me a 5-star review if you love it. Give me a 1-star review if it totally sucks. Put a comment in there, something that is helpful. It helps me. It helps get the word out there. It helps people find the podcast, and that's super cool. If you don't do that, maybe you could just share the podcast with a friend. Tell a buddy who's trying to figure it out, trying to sort out this pilot dream of theirs and get a little bit further. That is super awesome as well. Last, if you don't do either of those two things, how about this? Find a way today to make yourself 1% better. Do that thing that you've been putting off. Put your foot forward, make movement, get yourself going, get that inertia that you need to succeed in this industry. So that's your choice. Leave a review, tell a friend, or make yourself better. Either way, it's all a good choice. And I'm super stoked you're listening, and I will see you on the next episode. The statements made on this show are my own opinions and do not reflect, nor are they under any direction from my employer.